Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a interview session here at Urban Health Today. This is Joel Kahn, medical doctor, cardiologist, and I'm going to be rather quiet today because we have an absolutely brilliant, well-known guest, physician, Dr. Milton Mills. Dr. Mills and I know each other from the plant-based advocate community. I don't know how many lectures Dr. Mills has given, but it's in the hundreds and hundreds from sea to shining sea with great passion and great influence on people. And a man I respect a lot for his passion and all. But today we're going to talk about this topic of disparities in 2023. Doc Mills, thanks so much for taking your time. It's late in the day and you've had a long day, but thank you.
Well, thank you, Joel, Dr. Kahn, for asking me to participate in this very important discussion and to offer my perspectives. I appreciate it.
So a couple of personal questions. Where were you born?
I was born in Berkeley, California, and I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area.
And how big a family? Was it a traditional family unit, a mom and dad and a bunch of kids, or?
Yeah, it was mother, father, and a total of 4 boys. I had 3 brothers. And it was an intact family unit until I was 13, and then my parents decided to divorce. And that was kind of a major way station in my life. It influenced me in a number of ways.
What kind of employment did your father have?
My dad worked as a laborer and a machinist for most of his life. And it's very interesting because my father was actually an incredibly smart man, very good in math and other things. And he was one of those kind of old school guys who could figure out how to fix any and everything from the washing machine to the car to the TV, you name it. But he simply did not have the opportunities to go to college like that I had. My dad actually was born in Mississippi and partially raised there. My mom was born in Texas and partially raised there. And their parents actually moved to the Bay Area during the kind of second great migration of Blacks from the South around World War II to get jobs in the war industry. And then they met in high school in Oakland.
And was your mom at home, or your mom worked out of the house too?
My mother was a stay-at-home mom for most of the marriage. And then when they decided that they wanted to purchase a house, she started working as a bank teller, cashier in a store, a local store, that kind of thing.
I feel badly I didn't introduce you fully. You're obviously an ICU specialist, an intensivist, now an outpatient clinic expert. You're a real live doctor for many, many years. I just wanted to make sure everybody got that perspective. When did the light bulb go off? Did you know you were a good student going through school? And when did the medical light bulb go off?
So that's actually an interesting question because my older brother was 4 years older than me, and like all younger brothers, I kind of hero worshipped him. And when Michael went off to school, of course, I wanted to go with him, and my mom said, "No, you can't." So I said, "Then I want to have school at home," and so my mom started teaching me how to read and stuff at 3 years of age, and by the time I started kindergarten, I was reading from the newspaper. I mean, so I clearly had aptitude, and my parents always, even though they themselves only had like high school educations, they always emphasized that we should try and educate ourselves to the best of our ability. In those days, there was no Wikipedia, so there were always encyclopedias in the house. They encouraged us to use libraries, study, which I love to do because I love to read. And so it became fairly clear early on that I had academic aptitude, and I excelled in school. and that kind of sort of prepared me to, I guess, go on and be able to uh, um, excel beyond the circumstances that I grew up in, because the neighborhood I grew up in was a kind of a poor inner city neighborhood.
I was gonna ask you about
A
that.
lot of resources. Yeah.
High school homeschooled, or high school you're in public?
Public school. So yeah.
What percentage would you say was African American or other than, Caucasian?
I 90 to 95% of the kids were African American,
Oh,
with a smattering of a few Hispanics, a couple of Asians, and a very rare white kid.
wow. And what college was a word that your parents mentioned? Did you go straight to college?
No. So, my parents, again, encouraged college, but they had no idea how one went to college, because they hadn't done it. And when I finished high school, even though I was smart and had done well, I had absolutely no employable skills, and I had to kind of figure out how to support myself. So I kind of knocked around at a series of jobs, just so I could kind of make money and buy the things I needed. And ultimately, I got into a training program and went to a business college, believe it or not.
Wow.
6 months program. And I picked business college because I knew that I wanted to go to college, but I didn't know how to type, and I knew I'd have to do term papers and that sort of things. And so I figured, this is going to serve me well. I'll learn how to type. I'll be ready to go to college, and then I'll have a skill that I could keep myself employed. And the business college felt I had the aptitude to be a secretary. So they taught me not only typing, but shorthand and some other things. And sure enough, when I finished, I got a job immediately, and I was able to remain employed. And I started going to school full-time at night, because the state university had a full-time program at night, and then I was working 40 hours a week during the day. And I did that because, one, coming from the school that I came from, even though I knew I was smart, I didn't know how I would perform relative to kids from better schools. I'm like, was I just kind of a shiny fish in a little pond, or did I really have the goods? And so I wanted to get in, see if I really was going to do well in college, and then I would kind of figure out from there. And actually, I did very well. I mean, I got, essentially almost straight A's. And so I'm like, okay, I guess I got this. And then I started thinking, what do I want to do career-wise? And I had actually been out of high school for 4 years before I started going to college. And I initially thought about medicine, and I thought, it's too late. I'm 4 years behind. If I start now, I'll be in my early 30s. By the time I finish, I'll just do a master's in public health. But then I guess about a year into that, I sort of realized that I wanted to spend my life helping people understand that they did not have to slowly fall apart, get sick, and die as they age. That if they changed their diet, became plant-based, that they could avoid all of these things that killed Americans.
Even back then, wow.
Yeah, I became vegetarian at 16.
Wow.
I joined the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the church encourages members to become plant-based. And again, I put that off for a year because I didn't think I could live without meat. And then had a conversation with God one night, and he said, look, if you want to get closer to me, you have to have a clearer mind. For that, you need a better diet. And that's kind of what did it.